There we go. Hello, everybody. Thank you for clicking on. Going to be a special episode tonight. We are going to have some guests, and we're going to have a panel, and we're going to talk about the 2016 Democratic National Convention in Philadelphia. We go. Want to make sure I've got the link pinned at the top. Okay. We're going to talk about the 2016 Democratic National Convention in Philadelphia and and some other things as well. And they're going to be on at 9 o'clock, about 9 minutes from now. So, in the meantime, I am going to do a quick rundown of some things on the Twitter scroll, formerly known as X. This is what's on my X bookmarks. Just giving you things to think about, not telling you what to think or how to think. That's how we do it around here. I saw this live yesterday, and it was Hunter Biden coming out of a hearing, and it just struck me unusual. Just the way he looked, and then this is just a cutout of him.
Lawyer are there. They might talk to reporters.
That there was any financial transactions that involved Hunter with his father, period. It seems to me that the Republican members wanted to spend more time talking about my client's addiction than they could ask any question that had anything to do with what they call their impeachment inquiry. So, as I said before, there is no evidence because there is no evidence, and today only confirmed that. Thank you.
Can you come back for a public hearing? Can you do a public hearing?
Mr. Biden has to go in at the White House. Yours.
Lawyer.
Okay. So again, make of that what you will. His eye, he didn't seem to blink his eyes. And again, I watched this live. So the I went back and watched that version before I got this up close version. And everybody around him is blinking their eyes, and his eyes are incredibly wide open. It was noticeable from the jump. So, again, make of that what you will. Touched on this the other night. Joe Biden literally just told people in Texas today whose homes were just destroyed by a government direct energy weapon how to avoid getting your home destroyed by government energy weapon. That would be by having a blue roof, which apparently the one house has a blue metal roof that the others didn't. And I was asked last night to touch on this. This is basically the direct energy weapon mounted on the nose of a plane. So no, it doesn't have to. It's not going to be the giant satellite thing that Russia launched that caused a stir in the intelligence community because they didn't know it was going to be up there. This is totally different. This is if there were something that were to have happened in Maui, on the island of Maui, this would probably be what caused that. If there were some, if there were, and I've got footage from Mexico. I played this a few days back. Footage from Mexico showing a direct energy beam either coming down from the sky or a very strong laser beam beaming up from the ground directly up from two different camera angles. And this would be something that might possibly be utilized. So while there's questions what started the fire, it's on it, Sue. If you can hear me, it is at the top of the chat. There's a link at the top of the chat. You just click on that link and you'll come into like the back area, and I'll bring you up on the screen. I might have to go to Facebook, folks. I don't have it open, so. All right, some info came out about Trudeau today. Is Trudeau finished? Exposed? Collusion with Beijing? Bioterrorism? Stolen elections? Wuhan Lab? All these questions. Trudeau, there is a... okay, good. I'm getting notifications from Facebook, so apologize to everyone. Trudeau just got caught covering it all up, allegedly, so we will keep an eye on that, on what's going on to our neighbors, with our neighbors to the north. I mentioned Biden talking yesterday, and
because if you fly over these areas that are burned to the ground, you'll see in the midst of 20 homes that are just totally destroyed, one home sitting there because it had the right roof on it. And anyway, since I took off.
Don't think he was supposed to say that, but nonetheless, he has, and we refer back to tests done after what happened in Hawaii. We showed a clip on here of the blue car that wasn't burnt when all the cars around it were burnt down to the rubber. Got about 4 minutes left here, and just want to give you a look at this. This is not the Mexican police. This is the Mexican drug cartel. And, I mentioned to people that, this, you got to update your mind on what a drug cartel means. It's not like you've seen in movies before, where it's a bunch of people just, there's 8 guys all in one truck and they all jump out. And again, as you're seeing here, this is a serious situation, and the main functions of these groups are transporting fentanyl and people. And so when you scream about how easy it is to close the border, it might be, it might not be, depending, because you're cutting off the people we just showed you. You're cutting off their source of income. Just something to think about. Okay, this is okay. This is in here. Hang on.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was a revolution.
What does that look like to you?
Total mayhem. But I think it's going to be the only choice that some people see.
They say Joe Biden wins the White House again. You don't believe that he actually does. How does Trump come into power then?
It may be up to us.
Is that a physical takeover of the White House?
Could be. And it wouldn't just be the White House, it would be the country.
The Pentagon?
Sure.
And you think that human life could be a consequence of that?
It could be. It's called collateral damage and the cost of war.
I don't know what to say.
These are conversations that last 15 minutes, Nicole. These are the parts when I talk about intent.
Okay, just so everyone, when I talked about civil war the other night, just to reiterate, there are people that are ready. And why not talk about a UFO here real quick? I touched on this the other night as well. This is from Ukraine, from the battlefield in Ukraine. And Ukraine soldier who filmed a UFO, quote, bigger than the Empire State Building over the war zone in Donetsk, tells the Daily Mail it sat deathly still against winds and was hotter than anything he'd ever seen on the thermal camera. So they usually show up when something bad's about to happen. No, you don't have to pay, Robert Deppert. Okay, hang on just a second here. Let me finish this up because I'm up here at the end. Woman holds in her hand a 2011 newspaper which says in black and white that Bill Gates is going to start depopulation through compulsory vaccination, as it is the only environmentally friendly solution. So the thoughts of the WEF and WHO have been around for a while, as we often point out on here. The Never Surrender sneakers just surrendered 75% of their price, and they have dropped from the $400 mark down to the $100 mark. And that concludes our X-File for tonight. Hang with me here just a minute, everybody. I need to open Facebook. And if you've got questions you want to ask about a convention, about Democratic conventions, about 2016, about anything like that, drop them in the chat, and hang on, drop them in the chat, and we will address them. I'm going to drop. No, you don't have to pay anything. Should just click there. And again, my apologies to everybody hanging with me here. Thank you for watching. Always greatly appreciated. And there. And hopefully that will get two of our guests up here. I'm going to hop off of Facebook. Get rid of that. See if anybody's here. And hi, Sue.
Hello, how's it going?
Good. How are you? Long time no see. Long time no talk to.
Man, life is hard. They sure are putting the ringers to us, aren't they?
Life is hard. And there's Rob. Hello, Rob. How are you?
I'm figuring this thing out.
You got to figure it out. This is all there is to it. You wanted to know if you have to pay. You do. And it's $700. And you just send it $ American Doofus, all one word. And that's a Cash App. And that'll take care of you being on here for tonight. This is not a Trump event. You don't have to do anything like that. Okay?
You know, I have a funny Trump anecdote from Iowa in 2016.
Okay.
Okay.
The weekend before the caucuses, I was in Waterloo, Iowa, and he had an ad in the paper, and they were paying people $10 an hour to come to his rally in Waterloo. They were paying. He had to pay people in Iowa.
We lost Rob there. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. He was paying people to come to his rallies.
Yeah, there was an ad in the paper for it, paying people $10 an hour to attend his rally.
There have been a lot of ads on the internet where it's up to $30 an hour in some areas to come and support him at the rallies, and Craigslist and things like that.
All that free media is how we're in this mess. Thank you, Hillary.
I don't know if we're going to get Rob back here or not. I think we might. Let's see. There we go. Rob, what'd you do?
Oh, you know what? I was getting, somehow I had it open twice.
Okay,
So
you're getting an echo.
Second echo. It was, yeah.
Okay.
Not good.
All right. You good
That
now?
would be annoying.
Yes.
Yeah,
it is.
I heard Sue's story like twice, but
Okay. All
she
right.
was in a canyon.
All right. Rob, tell everybody just a little bit about yourself, a little elevator pitch.
Oh, Rob Deppert in 10 seconds. Let me see. I've been a Democrat all my life. My father was a labor leader in Indiana and ran the Indiana AFL-CIO, and I've run a couple political groups here in Bloomington, a Democracy for Monroe County and Jobs with Justice group at one time. I've always fought for progressive issues in my area. I've never quite. I've run for a township trustee board, but that's basically the only political position I've run for besides delegate. I don't know. I've been around the block. I've driven Bernie Sanders around a couple times and really had a blast doing that. So I don't know. I run an insurance agency, which is an odd thing for somebody to be a big Bernie supporter and also run an insurance agency at the same time. So,
But you're kind of
that's all right.
Yeah, and you help people out with that are going on to Medicaid or Medicare. Sorry.
And then and the Affordable Care Act and life insurance and anything in the life accident and health field I can help people with. I've been doing that and had a license since 1992.
Okay.
If that's not scary, that's a long time. So
All right, Sue, you want to talk? Give a elevator speech.
Probably. Politically, my political career started for when I was ordained neighborhood president of a Near East Side neighborhood, and fast forward to 2018. I answered the call and ran for Congress. I primaried Andre Carson in 2018. That was like running headlong into a brick wall. Happened to tell people, yeah, I know I can win. And the back of my head's going, oh, this is going to hurt. So now I'm politically, well, when I grew up in rural Indiana, I was a Republican because they call you whatever you vote in the primary. And out there, Democrats had already stopped fighting for rural Indiana. So I was technically a Republican when I lived in the country. I moved to Indianapolis and started voting in the Democratic primary because in Indianapolis, that's usually where the representation wound up being forced through. So you got to vote in the primary. The gerrymandering has placed the power of that party in. I don't believe in either of the duopoly. And I've seen Rob doing his stuff, and he's really good at it. And I'm sad to say I don't believe in Bernie Sanders anymore. Hey, genocide. There's a genocide going on, and he's telling Michiganders to not vote a protest vote to try and get Biden's attention. What do you do with that?
He's at least telling them to have a ceasefire, and I mean, he's better than where everybody else is at, but I don't disagree with you. And that it's a terribly immoral situation going on. I mean,
I think one of our fellow delegates unfriended me at the beginning, like around October 8th.
Okay, my apologies. I don't know. I haven't talked to anybody in a long time. So if there's disagreements among everybody, I apologize. I had no idea, and that's not what we're doing here. Just in case, because yeah, okay. This is Catherine Haddow. Catherine, hello. Can you hear us?
Yep.
All right, great. All right, go ahead, Sue.
Well, long story short, the Democrats have ignored every opportunity to become the party of the people and have ignored it. So I still vote in the primaries here in Indianapolis. I still pull a Democratic ticket. But as far as their governance, neither Team Red nor Team Blue is any good at governance for anybody but their donor class. And until we get through that, and so I'm the radical of the group. If you're watching online, I'm the one ready to burn it down.
Okay, that's fine. I'm the middle. I've given the middle finger to both sides, and I think there are probably 40 to 45, maybe even 50%. I think the middle just keeps growing, and we shouldn't be. We should not be kowtowing to either the extreme right or the extreme left. That's just my personal opinion. Catherine, how are you? I haven't seen you in a while.
Doing well, thank you, Barry. Glad
You want
to
to
see
give
my old pals from 2016 up on the screen.
You want to give an elevator speech to the viewers that, you know, how are you involved politically? Are you still involved at all?
Well, I am still a precinct committee person, and I filed to be a delegate to the state convention, which means I'm leaving my options open to be a delegate to the national convention. Back in 2016, we had a lot of coherence because Bernie had 44% of the primary vote. And so we went to Philadelphia knowing that he probably wasn't going to make it, but there was still that, you know, slight chance that we would somehow be able to push him over the edge. It didn't happen, and we accepted that. But there was kind of a lot more urgency to get people there to cast their votes. This time it doesn't matter because no matter what happens, Biden is going to be the nominee unless something happens to him.
Okay. I want to stop you there because this is a good point. I want to ask all three of you this. I have been saying here on the show that neither Biden nor Trump will be president in 2024. And here's what the Democrats are going to do. They're going to try to keep Biden propped up until the convention is over and he has the nomination. Then he says, I cannot fulfill the 4 years due to my health, blah, blah, blah. Then the DNC gets to choose who the nomination is, totally bypassing the primaries, the convention, and any control of the people. And it might be Gavin Newsom. It might be Michelle Obama. It might be the governor of Michigan. We don't know, but
Gretchen Whitmer.
Yes, thank you. So I've been saying that. Could you see that potentially happening in the Democratic Party?
Absolutely. Can't we all?
I don't know, Rob.
You know what? I don't know. I know that if the Democrats were smart, they'd be looking for a way out from running Biden. I mean, Biden just looks old. He doesn't communicate very well. He's actually been communicating a little bit better than he has. But the way he walks, I mean, everything about the way he does just shows, you know, he's in that aging process. We're all going to be there. But the question is, do we all want to be there when we start heading downhill, trying to run the country at the same time? I mean, there's a time to go out and take a rest and enjoy life. And then there's a time to try to run the country. And I think even a majority of Democrats look up and don't think it's really his time to run things. So I could see him trying to do something like that. That would leave the power to choose the whole nominee in the hands of the power elite in the Democratic Party. And that's pretty much what they
want.
Try to control it now for 2 elections. And I went to Iowa. I had all kinds of bullshit happen where I was a captain of a precinct for Bernie there. And, the whole thing was screwed up.
The other factor of this is nobody wants Kamala Harris. So they would bypass. They want to keep him active and going until it's such a time that only the Democratic National Committee can fill that ballot slot. Sue, you think that's a possibility?
It's my understanding that they could pull that move during the convention. That they have the power in the fine print that if they had the will, that they could pull a different candidate. But
Would the delegates vote then on it? In an open convention, then it's the delegates there that decide.
Yes,
yeah,
technically.
yes. So they have the power to do that, and like 80% of Democrats, when polled, say that Biden is too old and they would like a different choice. So I think if we've been there, they're lemmings. If they say Biden's the grandpa that won't give up the car keys, and we as a party have to take the car keys away from grandpa, and here's who we want you to vote for now, that's what they would do.
And it would be Obama that did that.
It would be Obama
to step in and just. It wouldn't be Bill Clinton because nobody.
No.
All the bullshit he's been through. The person with the stature to walk in there, and really Obama organized it to get all those candidates to drop out in 2020.
Yes.
Before Super Tuesday. I mean,
Don't remind me.
We had Mayor Pete drop out. He was second in the delegate count. So I'll never have that much respect for him just after having done that, because he was obviously a tool in the whole process as opposed to a sincere candidate.
I got a couple of like administrative questions, I guess, if you will, that were sent to me ahead of time.
Is it about that money again?
No, it's it's how do you become a delegate?
Oh,
how do you become a delegate to the national convention?
Catherine.
Are you talking about Indiana or nationwide?
To the national convention,
right? But I'm saying
it's different. It's different in different states, correct?
Right.
Okay,
Slightly
Catherine,
different.
go ahead.
I can tell you for sure in Indiana, the smoothest way to get to be a national delegate is to start by being a delegate to the state convention, at which point you can announce ahead of time that you would like to be a candidate to be a delegate at the national convention. And then your congressional district, all of the delegates from your congressional district will get together and vote on who is going to represent them at the national convention. And this procedure is slightly different in other states, but pretty much it's like that. And it's not just people from America. It's Democrats abroad. It's people from Samoa, all around the world. If you can vote Democrat from where you are, you can be a delegate to the national convention.
Is that the way it was carried out in everybody else's districts?
I was named by the campaign, so.
You were named by the campaign.
Yeah, they have a certain number of slots, and when they win a primary, that they name a certain number. So no, Gene Smith won the position here in Bloomington.
It's not exactly like that, Rob. It's not exactly like that. The rules for the selection of the Democratic delegates are posted on the INDEM's website, and you can read them. It'll put you right to sleep. What happens is that everybody who declares that they want to be a candidate to be a delegate to the national convention has to submit their names ahead of time, and then the party gets or the candidate's campaign, I don't remember which, gets to vet those people and to exclude anybody who they don't believe properly represents their candidate. So it's the campaigns, not the party itself. And so you put your name in, Rob, and then the campaign looked at you and said, "Oh yes, we want you," and they probably put you high up on the slate. But they did not handpick you to be a delegate. You still had to be voted on at your.
I was in the whole election process, but as far as being an elected delegate from this region, that did not happen. So I put my name in the slot to be a delegate otherwise. And the guy I was with, and I'm forgetting his name, had health problems. So I left the state Democrat convention and found out later on the phone that they'd chosen me to be an alternate, which is what I was in 2016. I was actually an alternate delegate, and I'm like, oh, okay. But the guy I was with was feeling ill and just begged me to take him home, so I left early. But they tried to make me an actual delegate, but I don't know what happened there. Somebody called me up first. And I'm forgetting what his name is, but I think he lived up in Anderson, and said, they've got you down here as a delegate and you're not here. And I said, oh, well, I'm still willing to serve. And then when it all shook out, I was an alternate delegate. So that's
Sue?
that's what happened.
Sue?
I won. It was the first time my name has ever been on a ballot that was fed into a machine. And everybody knew who I was because I'm loud and talkative. And a friend of mine made a poster of my primary road trips that I took for Bernie, campaigning in 4 states if you count Indiana. So I did Iowa, South Carolina, and Georgia, and then came home to Indiana. And boy, do I have so many cheating stories where we got cheated.
You know what? My next question was going to be, how confident are you in the votes that happened do you think the Democratic Party is honest behind the scenes when it comes to voting and selecting who's going to be delegates and things like that? Or you think there might be some strings pulled in some situations? Like Rob's saying, he really didn't, they asked him to fill the slot, and that's the labor tie. I mean, we're not exposing
my dad had been a delegate 5 times to the national convention, so I mean, the name had been there for years and years. Let me tell you something about the whole delegate race. My 9th district chair told me right after we voted, I said, well, he told me I lost, and then he said, I don't think you realize, like, there was statistically no way that you could win the district election because of the slots we need to fill. Remember, because it's got to be 50% men and 50% women. And then they have we had, Martha Whitmill and Gene Smith, and you're weighted as a delegate based on them needing to fulfill certain demographics. And,
check boxes.
Yeah, they check boxes, and once they've checked enough boxes.
So if you're
Martha
Native
Whitmill
American and in your
and,
wheelchair, all
Yeah,
of those things. They want somebody who can fill all those boxes.
we had a trans person, we had a young female Democrat, and we had me, and we had a city councilman from down in Jeffersonville. And they said you were going to live once we checked all the boxes. An African-American guy, I forget his name, down in Jeffersonville, Indiana, really nice white. His last name is, I forget exactly, but, and he ended up being a Bernie delegate too, but they said I didn't check any of the boxes. So they eliminated my name before they even started counting the votes. And I'm like, oh, that. It really seems odd. It seems like somebody ought to tell you that before you go and try to call these people and run. It was weird, but you know what? I mean, I want the delegates to be more diverse than a bunch of old white guys myself. And then I end up getting to go anyway and participate. So I was not bitter about it, but it seemed really weird when you've run this campaign to say, oh, you never could have won anyway. And it's just a weird thing for somebody to tell you.
Okay, I'm going to tell you guys something I have not said in public, but I was told before the vote was ever taken who the delegates were going to be in my district.
Huh.
Now
Wow.
now that's either a real good whip, as far as whipping up the vote, knowing the vote totals before everybody votes, or
And when that guy told me that, it almost seemed like he was telling me we decided who the delegates were before,
yeah.
I don't even know if they counted the votes. Honestly, they just,
All right.
yeah.
All right, let's get to
Kim Saylor had a couple of check boxes, and thinking through all the other people in CD7 on the female side, we had the most check boxes.
Yeah.
I think my district, 6 had the least check boxes. I think 7 had the most.
Well, we had quite a few in Bloomington, out of Bloomington.
Yeah, you did.
With Martha and Jean. So, and then I mean, but you know what? I'm sure back when my dad went to all those conventions and they didn't quite have all those rules in place, it was mostly old white men.
Yeah. Yeah.
He one year sat next to Joe Piscopo the whole convention.
Can I add a little color commentary?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Well, of course, Bernie was not the only person running in 2016. Hillary was also. And so you had a lot of people who were just convention groupies who would show up just because they liked to sit in the stadium and make a lot of noise. And the funny thing was that people who were Hillary people were dressed in, Talbot's outfits, and they looked really spiffy, or else there were weirdos who were wearing like sequined hats, not from Indiana. So what I like to say was that our two delegations were so different just from in Indiana. The Hillary people looked as if they came from the Woodlands, and the Bernie people look as if they came from Austin, if we had been Texas.
It was a diverse group. All right. First question, how much did it, you don't have to give exact amounts, but how much did it cost for you to go to that convention financially?
Thousands.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to pay the amounts that they were looking at. So I did a GoFundMe, and I stayed in a Days Inn 5 miles away from where you all stayed. So and it was $100 a night, and it was the damn nicest Days Inn I've ever stayed in my life. It was the most comfortable bed in the world, and I thought, God, I'm glad I'm not trying to pay whatever exorbitant price. I tried to get in a few different rooms, and people were like, well, we're full, and we don't know who the hell you are. And it got to the point, it's like, well, I'll just find my own room. And honestly, through the GoFundMe and everything else, it didn't cost me anything. I about broke even, believe it or not. But there were a bunch of people that wanted me to go and raise hell. So I mean, I threw it out there. I didn't really push my GoFundMe that much, but there was a bunch of great Bloomington people that all threw in some money. I mean, I'm sure I spent some of I can't say it was. I didn't spend any more money than I would have if I was running around Bloomington, though. And I didn't pay that huge, I drove myself, and I didn't pay that huge fee for that damn hotel room.
Yeah.
The food was free.
Yeah. Those of us who didn't know what we were doing and paid for the big hotel bill, we were paying for the party officials' hotel rooms. And the thousands wasn't out of pocket. I did a GoFundMe too. So the convention part was hundreds because drove out and stuff. But what I came to understand was all those fees that they had us pay and the cost for the hotel room was for those of us who were new to the process were paying for their rooms. So they didn't have, we picked up their tab, is my understanding.
And the rooms cost so much that some rooms had 6 people staying in the same room, sharing costs because.
Didn't we have more than that, Sue? We had a suite, and I feel like we had 8 people.
Probably
we
did.
Had 4. It's just one of them was 5 people.
Well, I mean,
one of them was a handful.
I thought we had 2 double beds, each with 2 women in them, and then some people sleeping in the ante room. There was a lot of people in our room. And Barry, it might be important if somebody here has not been a delegate before. I've heard people say, why do people think they need to spend so much on hotels? It's because the state party tells you, you have to stay at our hotel so that we can put you on the bus in the morning and give you your credentials. You can't just wander into the hall. So we want to control you by keeping you in this hotel. You must stay in this hotel. Rob,
yeah,
obviously.
Yeah, and they told me, you know, they tried to tell me that. And I said, well, you know, I'm an alternate. I'm not going to spend all that money to do that. So I'll stay somewhere else and just drive in. And then they said, well, we're not sure you're going to be allowed to park. So I had to come up with some crazy scheme about how I could park there. And the funny thing about it was they never checked any parking passes. I didn't have to do any of the bullshit I did. My wife's union rep was also a Hillary delegate. So when he was flying in, so I had him get a parking pass. And then he got it to me. Nobody else put up a parking pass. I didn't even put it up. But I so worried for weeks about whether I was going to try to find a way to get a parking pass so I could stay somewhere else and drive in. But I drove out there alone. My ride out there was crazy in that I kind of drove through the middle of the night and got really tired, smoked a little bit of weed. I don't know if I should probably say that, but I'd set it up so I could have a nice place to sleep in the back of the car, stopped at a rest stop. And my idea was to get there about noon on Saturday so I could stay the night before and kind of meet people and get hooked into things. And I fell asleep in the back of that car and woke up at like 11 o'clock the next day, and I was still in Ohio. So I drive to Pennsylvania and I realize, my God, I'm so late. I'm never going to get there and see anybody on Saturday night. So I stopped and went whitewater rafting in Pennsylvania. So it didn't even get there till Sunday. So my whole idea on getting there early Saturday was just blown to hell. And once it was blown to hell, I decided that because there was some hearing I wanted to go to on Saturday. And once I missed that, I was so pissed off that I was going to just sleep for an hour. And I think I slept in the back of that car for 5 hours. So.
And if you miss breakfast, you don't get your credentials for the day. You got different credentials every day. And if you're not there by the end of breakfast, you're just basically shut out of the day. So it was very.
I will tell you what happened before at breakfast one time when we were having a meeting with the Bernie delegates and talking and everything. I was sitting near the back, and Susan Bai came up and said, Rob, and I kind of turned around and she said, you've got to get all these Bernie people to vote for Evan so he can beat Todd Young in this next election. And I said, oh, okay. And then she walked off. And to this day, I'm pretty sure that's the closest they ever came to ever reaching out to any Bernie people to try to get votes. I mean, throughout their whole campaign, I mean, was there ever any overture for the guy that won the state of Indiana? Did Evan Bai ever even mention Bernie's name?
Susan was everywhere that campaign, at least around my district. She was everywhere. I saw Evan one time, and that was when we were doing an event together in Muncie, and I think he just thought he had it won, and I don't think
And he didn't know his address. Remember, he lost.
Yes,
an address.
Yes, because he doesn't have a place here in Indiana.
I
All right.
still know the girl he sold the condo to. So
let's talk about the difference between the Hillary people and the Bernie people in Philadelphia.
We were all night and day. I mean, the Bernie
I mean,
people.
It's already been mentioned. We dressed and looked different.
Yeah.
But
they were all in establishment positions. I mean, they had party positions for years and years, and we were all upstarts. And what's funny is we had almost as many people and as big an apparatus as what they did, even though we were the upstarts. That was the weird thing, especially in Indiana during the election. They realized we had more people on the ground working to elect Bernie than they had trying to elect Hillary. And I talked to people, so I knew a week beforehand that Bernie was going to win the state of Indiana. And that was just grassroots, excitement. If you tell people the truth, they're going to be drawn to it. And Democrats have a tendency to just want to talk, like Sue said, to the donor class. And they're just, talking bullshit. People realize that the whole system is corrupt. If you tell them that and be honest with them, you can be like Bernie and raise a fire. The problem is communicating with them, having the money and the ability to actually communicate and get your word out there is another thing. But he had the message. He had the speech. People knew what he was saying was the truth. I mean, but I'm rambling on.
Catherine, talk about super delegates.
Don't get me started.
Okay, all right.
Let me tell a little story
Sue?
about because I don't want to get Catherine started on super delegates.
They're not called super delegates anymore. They're called automatic delegates.
Yeah.
Oh, I love the sleight of hand that they think is so convincing. So the Bernie crowd was very vocal at the convention. We were loud, and the regulars considered us very disrespectful. And I'm a nice person by nature, so I'd talk to people, and there was this one Hillary delegate that just looked really upset, and I asked her what was wrong, and she was like, "Why can't you people just,
shut up and sit down?
go along? You're spoiling this convention for us." And I said, "No, you are not participating in the convention for your delegate. It's up to you to decide how you behave in the time that you have. And if this is what you really think, and this is the first female president, and you're proud and happy to be here, why aren't you standing up and yelling? Why aren't you making your own noise? Why let us write your story?" And it actually had an effect. She had a great rest of the convention as a human being, and she was cheerful and applauding her people and had a really good time. And she even thanked me for the reality check when we were leaving the hotel, because she was having a lousy convention, and I was like, that was on her. We were having a lousy convention because the hubris of our party was going to set us up to have President Trump, and we all knew that, and they weren't listening to us.
Yeah.
So, and I don't, there's no indication that they hear us now. There is a large section of the population that it's Genocide Joe. And They're running us off a cliff, and we're about to have Trump too. This is going to be bad.
Yeah, what happens to all those legal issues? Do they just disappear? Do the states still try to prosecute him, even though he's president? What does that even
No,
look like?
He pardons himself day one. He pardons
Mhm.
himself of
He
everything.
he
day
can only
one.
pardon himself on federal cases. He can't pardon himself like in the Georgia case. But
If you
then
eliminate the Supreme Court, you eliminate Congress, you start eliminating the entire federal government because you're a dictator. What a state court says is not going to matter.
yeah,
He's
he's not
already
going to just eliminate them. He's going to make it look like they still matter. But hell, he's already taken over. They're not voting on half the bills that Biden wants them to vote on now in the House. So he's already got Johnson doing all of his bidding. So not that I do think we need to fund Ukraine, but I definitely don't want to give any money to Israel at this point. So I don't feel terrible that they can't get that aid package through. But
and I disagree with you on that, Ron. It's our war, but we're throwing good money after bad. We should have allowed them to negotiate a peace in the early days.
yeah,
But we torpedoed that. The United States torpedoed the early on, almost a year and a half ago talks when there were 300,000 less amputees in Ukraine. Not to mention the death toll. It's the same as Gaza. There's two different death toll injury disabled people counts, depending on if you're talking to Zelensky or one of the international organizations. But
I agree with you, though. I mean, we as a superpower, we are the power out there that keeps regional powers and groups from sitting down. I think North Korea and South Korea would have sat down and figured out some kind of a slow reintegration process without us having our thumb in the middle of it. We're the ones that, before we're ever going to have any kind of a discussion, we're going to have 1,000 different stipulations you got to meet before we'll even sit down. We guarantee, and it's not in the interest of our military industrial complex for us to settle all these issues. I think regionally, like the Asian Council and the European Union, they would solve, even the Arab League would solve a majority of the problems in the world if we didn't have to be in the middle of all of it. So, and I don't know where that puts me with the Democrats, because we're as internationalist as we've ever been. So, no, I understand what you're saying, but I don't think the Russians had a right to go into Ukraine. So, I mean, I think once they went into Ukraine, it made sense to give them some ability to defend themselves. But
I'm not defending Russia's actions, but
yeah.
I hope that do you understand that Ukraine was originally set up as an independent nation, and it was in their constitution that they would never try to join NATO?
I understand that. And Gorbachev, that was the whole agreement. They can be independent, but they can never join NATO. And we told him, we promised that we would never try to get him to join NATO. So yeah, I understand all of that.
Our CIA did the.
We also go ahead, Sue.
So, well,
helped with the coup.
Yeah, that helped with the coup that put in the government in the Ukraine that changed the constitution. We started this ball rolling.
We also got Ukraine to denuclearize by promising them that if Russia ever invaded, that we would back them up. Russia invaded, and Obama did nothing. So yeah, we're not always the good guys that we like to make ourselves out to be, as
No.
far as America goes.
In my lifetime, I have yet to see us be that shining beacon on the hill. They have done nothing but dismantle my faith in this country. Nothing.
Catherine?
Well, I'm just thinking about the convention because that's the title of this particular talk. And I do have an answer for the question about the about the question of the automatic delegates, Barry, when you're ready.
Okay.
Go
yeah.
ahead.
Okay.
Please.
They do
in
vote in
20
the second round, though. They don't vote first round.
Well,
right?
that's what I was about to say, that in
Oh, okay.
2016,
I stole your thunder. I'm sorry.
automatic delegates were allowed to throw their thumb on the scale in the first round, so that even though Bernie won the Indiana primaries, when we got to the convention, the automatic delegates threw their thumb on the scale and they proudly announced that Hillary had won. And it was just such a travesty because of those 9 automatic delegates, except for Visklosky, who has now retired, but he was my congressperson, and he abstained from voting because he believed that it was immoral. I don't think he said immoral, but something like that. So anyhow, they did change the rules, as Rob said. And so now they're only allowed to come in and vote on a second round after a tie. But they could roll back that rule. And that's why it's important for people who are concerned, even if they don't want to be delegates, to apply to be on the committees that happen at the time of the DNC. So I'm definitely going to try to get on one of those because, yes, I would hate it if in August something big happened at the convention and I was not allowed to vote. Let's say that Biden had a heart attack in the middle of the convention or something, and then they suddenly needed to get a new nominee. You'd want to be the person on the floor who actually had a vote and could vote. Very unlikely. However, the likelihood is that the party is going to try to reinvent its rules to suit itself, and that's why we need progressives sitting on those boring committees.
Well said.
And you don't need to be a delegate to do that. You just need to put your name in. And so I do encourage people to try to become a member of those committees, especially since it's in Chicago this year, which is so close to us in Indiana. Yeah. It's actually many people from my city commute in. And so I'd like to see if I can participate that way, even if I don't have to stay at a fancy hotel.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Avoid the fancy hotel.
Yeah.
Is that at the INDEM website where Hoosiers can go look up through the state party? Do you have to go?
That's a good question. I hadn't kind of wrapped my head around that yet, but I can tell you that I'll have the information later if you want to follow up with me. But there is a national Zoom call once a month for progressives who want to effect change through the convention. And I post that regularly on the Hoosier Delegates for Bernie Facebook page. That I'm not
Where
sure
is the convention in Chicago?
Where?
Isn't that facility that we went and saw Bernie in? Me and you, like a year? No?
That's a detail. I'll come to that when I come to it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just trying to know. But
I don't think that place was big enough.
That place was huge. Yeah, it still may not be big enough.
Okay.
You really got to have some space.
Well, speaking of space, that stadium really cramped?
Yeah.
It was so uncomfortable. You're sitting there for like 8 hours. It was horrible. Especially, I don't know about you, Sue. I don't know what you were talking about the Hillary delegates who were quiet, because on either side of me, we had 2 former cheerleaders who were just screaming their throats out. If I went again, I'd take noise canceling headphones.
They had us in assigned seats.
Yeah.
Just again, we got people watching, and the majority of people watch this at their convenience. They don't watch it live, so the numbers will go up as time goes along. But that's not why we do it. We don't do it. We do it just to give people things to think about. So let's talk about what an average day was like. I mentioned earlier, you had to get up, you had to go to breakfast in order to get your credentials for the day. And then we all pretty much got on buses every single day.
Except for that first day. Remember that first day they took us to another little convention center and then we all had meetings there.
Yes.
And then
The
we had
first
to wait
day,
on a bus
that's-
to take us to the other stadium, and it was like 1,000 degrees out, and the buses just never came. I ended up walking there. I walked through the city hall. That was really cool.
Yeah.
And ran into Cornell West. If that's not cool. And then I finally gave up standing in it because they had us cramped with ropes around us. That I thought that was almost a purposeful to try to wear out Bernie delegates because we didn't eat anything either till we got in there. The Monday night, I didn't eat from about 8 a.m. till about.
If I remember right, Monday morning we all got up, we all got on buses, we all went down and we saw Bernie speak in that one smaller convention area, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he pretty much tried to tell us that, look, it doesn't look like, he didn't say it. The Democratic Party is going to stick it right straight up. He said, keep the fight going. By the way, who is the leader of the progressive movement at the moment? Is Bernie still the leader?
You mean national?
Yeah. Is AOC the leader? Who's the leader of the progressives? Or is there such a thing?
I don't see anyone leading. Cornell has tried to lead. It's hard to get traction for a national progressive. Ballot access. Somebody
Or media access. I mean, the paid media or all the mainstream media, they don't want to talk to a progressive. I mean, the show that's supposed to be the left end of things is that Morning Joe, and man, the most progressive person they put on there is that the lady from Missouri, and she's nowhere near a progressive. Well, Clara McCaskill.
they can't. That's oh God.
She spends hours on there telling people how to win elections when she lost her last election. It's like,
Okay,
well,
so convention stuff. The food was incredibly expensive. We didn't know that there would be no food at all provided, that there would be no comforts provided, that you were on your own. The hours were long. It was exhausting. It was hard to get more than 4 hours of sleep on any given night.
Because as exhausting as it was at the convention, once you got back to the hotel, you needed time to unwind. And that's where a lot of the bonding and socialization took place. Because I remember Rob sitting out there till like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning at times and going, "Hey, I gotta drive back to my hotel. I'll see you all at breakfast here in a couple of hours."
Exactly. You guys go up to your expensive hotels. I got a Days Inn down the road here I got to go to. Well, do you remember the first night we had some kind of a weather incident that blew in and people's phones were going off? I went out to grab food when the weather blew in, and literally, am I the only one that remembers this?
I don't remember a weather incident.
Oh, I did. Some storm blew in 75, 80 mile an hour winds at one point. You were probably inside and not dealing with it, but the phones were warning us if you had your phone on. People's phones were going off.
Wow.
And I went outside to the food place and it hit right then. I had my food in my hand. It almost blew it right out of my hand. And there was food set on the counter that all blew off right as the guy handed me my food. It was the weirdest freaking thing. And I just ran back in there. But yeah, if you don't remember that, there was a serious storm that blew in on that first night. Do you remember all the people as you went into the convention on either sides of the fence? They were all Bernie people. They were all screaming at the top of their lungs. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that in all my life, and it was so gratifying. And the Hillary people looked so mortified walking through that gauntlet.
I went out on the Thursday night that that Hillary, the night Hillary accepted. I gave up my seat to
Yeah, me too. I did
to
too.
a Hillary alternate who she really wanted to be there. I went out and led a march of the Bernie people in protest of Bernie not getting the nomination.
I went and sat in my hotel room and turned the TV on, immediately fell asleep. I've never seen 1 minute of Hillary's acceptance speech.
I'll tell you what, I was Misty.
Meehan.
Yes, thank you. She saved me that night. I was so distraught. It was just like I had no doubt what was going to happen in the upcoming election. And
No, I didn't either. I tried to explain to quite a few people why Hillary was going to lose. I mean, she had a 60% negatives. She'd lost the working class. The Clintons had just from NAFTA. I'd sat and talked about with Chuck Jones about all of it, a union leader out of Indianapolis with the carrier plant. And he explained it to me. He said, my whole local was for Bernie. And now that Hillary's going to be the nominee, I can't get any of them to even talk about wanting to vote for Hillary. They're all Trump people now.
right,
And so
they all went to Trump.
An absolute disconnect with the working class people.
And what
Union
it did to the Indiana party is all of the grassroots workers, all of the bell ringers and the door knockers were all Bernie people. And once that happened, there was no campaigning grassroots style that went on, not only in Indiana but a number of states that Bernie would have been competitive in, if not won, in my opinion.
Bernie
Well,
would
and the
be-
Democratic Party's just been a mess ever since. They haven't hardly won anything since then, have they?
Well,
Indiana?
see, Roe v. Wade happened. Oh, but we haven't had an election since Roe v. Wade being overturned. So,
Yeah.
but that's
Is that
all-
going to
the
impact?
success- the success Democrats have had on a national level and in any of the states where they've had special elections has all been hinged on a revulsion of the Republican policy that has put reproductive rights back in the legislators' hands instead of a woman and her doctor. But the hubris of the elites of the Democratic Party is it's very frustrating, but it's so thorough. They thought they knew best the whole time. This is a good time for my John Zodi story.
Uh-oh.
Okay. A little backstory for those that don't know. John Zodi was the chairman of the Indiana Democratic Party. Go ahead.
So, are you all familiar, and I hope the viewers are too, with the Hillary Victory Fund?
Yeah.
It was a fundraising scheme where the donor class could write a huge check, and from the check, $10,000 went to like each of the states that were participating in the Victory Fund. So the donor would write the check. The National Party would send money to the different states who had signed on to it. And I heard John Zodi talking to two other state party chairs complaining that when the National Party took the money back for the Hillary Victory Fund, that he was trying to get money back because they had taken more than they had deposited. So our state party was money laundering political money for the the victory fund for Hillary without even getting a cut for us. It wasn't he wasn't complaining because they took out the amount that they had deposited. He was complaining because they took out more than what they deposited, which means we weren't getting a cut.
Yeah.
So if we weren't a quote unquote battleground state, we didn't count.
Yeah.
I've said on here a lot that if the political parties were not the ones responsible for people in government, they would both be guilty of RICO and money laundering.
It was a clear case.
I completely pissed off John Zodi when he was running against Shelley Yoder here a couple of years ago when he first ran, because he wouldn't tell everybody whether he was going to try to be state chair and state senator at the same time. And people had kind of asked him casually, and he just wasn't answering the questions. So I showed up at a debate at the local library in Bloomington and got up and asked the question. I said, look, where we're at right now is the Democratic Party. We only got 13 state senators, and we got like 26 people in the House. We have a super majority. I said, we're as low as the Democratic Party has been in my lifetime. And I can remember when we still controlled the House of Representatives back when my dad was running the labor movement. And I said, under those circumstances, I think we need a full-time Democratic Party chair that's not trying to also be an elected official. Do you plan on trying to do both offices? Man, you should have seen how pissed off he was at that point. He stammered. He stuttered and stammered the rest of the whole debate. I mean, you know what he lost by, don't you? He only got 13% of the vote against Shelley Yoder. It was like 87% to 13%.
Wow.
It's like one of the most lopsided races. I knew he was going to lose that bad. I told one of his election workers, I said, look, there's just nobody. I haven't met anybody who's supporting John Zodi among the main Democrats in Bloomington. And he's like, oh, no, you just know all the liberals. You're with that democracy group. And that's just all.
That democracy group, that group that wants democracy and shit.
Yeah, democracy in Monroe County. I said, look, that's the mainstream of the party in Bloomington. I said, he's going to lose bad. I don't want him to be too embarrassed, but I think he's going to get really embarrassed tonight. And he did. It was worse than what even I couldn't have prognosticated he was going to lose that bad. So apparently nobody had any faith in him left whatsoever. I can't imagine he even stayed another year as party chair after that, but he did. But he never inspired anybody. We surely, to God, need somebody. Do you know the party chair from up there? Isn't he by you, Catherine Hadow?
I have no idea.
No? Okay. No.
I have no idea who the Democratic Party chair is at the moment.
It's one of Pete's friends up in South Bend.
Well.
Smolian or what is? I haven't met him. I haven't even seen him, so I don't even know. And my wife, to be honest, my wife does run the Democrats Club here in Monroe County, so we do bring all the Democrats in for a luncheon to speak.
It looks as if his name is Mike Schmuel.
Schmuel, okay.
And the vice chair is Mila Eldridge.
Don't know either one of those, but it's been a long time since I've been involved.
Yeah.
Mila is Indianapolis based. If it's who I think it is, it's an older black lady.
Okay.
But I mean, I could be wrong. So my apologies to Mila if you aren't that cute older black lady that I think I'm.
Yeah, that's who it is. I'm looking at indems.org/our-party/party-leadership/ and that's what she looks like.
Well, what's really crazy about Indiana is Democrats do now control a majority of the large cities' mayorships right now, don't we? Don't we have Evansville and Lafayette and Indianapolis and Bloomington and Fort Wayne and Gary and I don't know about Clarksville or down.
We didn't have we didn't have 3 Democrats on the ballot in the municipal elections where I'm at.
And
See, and we're
Green-
opposite. Our Republican Party
Yeah.
is defunct here in Bloomington. So
Can't get anybody to run on a Democrat ballot where I'm at.
we had about 3 elections in a row in Bloomington where the Republican Party chair would just resign with about 2 or 3 weeks to go before the election. So that's how bad it is down here. And you go, oh, this isn't happening again. Surely that's just insane. But it's like, it's hard. Nobody wants to. That's the problem with gerrymandering and everything we've done with building all these districts is we've made it so that we've chosen the voters as opposed to the voters choosing all our leaders. And we're to the point now where you're beating your head against a wall just to run for most of these offices if you're not in the majority party. I mean, so
or if you're not in the works of the party, if you're not their chosen candidate, trust me, in the primary, you're running up against a brick wall. They made stuff up about me in 2018. They could have done some candidate research and found some things that they could talk about me that people might not like, but they decided instead to slander me with the easy one. They went to all the Marion County Democrat clubs in the 7th district and told the people that I am racist.
Wow.
Yep. I was told this by people in the clubs that said that they tried to defend me, but who are they going to believe in the den of Kool-Aid?
Yeah.
So I'm still working to rehab my reputation on that. And there are times when I don't bring up that I'm the Sue Spicer that primaried Andre Carson in 2018 because I can still get a visceral reaction. So
well, it's funny how about 50% of the people that end up in elected office in Bloomington are caucused in, because every time one person moves, everybody else moves. You know what I mean? If you get somebody, the auditor leaves, the
auditor becomes the surveyor, and the surveyor becomes the yeah.
And then you just run a series, or some of them work for Indiana University, and they're also elected officials, and they move to another university, and all of a sudden their positions open, and then all of a sudden it's a series of caucuses, and they went around the room, and we're talking to candidates at a meeting I was at. And half of them in the room, their first time in office was just from being caucused in. So it's an inside game. It's still just a handful of people making a whole lot of decisions. And, the mayor in Bloomington didn't like me. He liked me when I helped get him a big endorsement, and I got a big speaker to come in here. And he still didn't like me because I was a Bernie delegate and because I was a Bernie supporter. So,
okay. So do you think the Republican Party is currently going through a similar thing with Trump people and non-Trump people?
I got Howard Dean into Bloomington. That's the name.
Okay. All right.
That's not a small person. Mr. Yelp. What was your question again?
Is the Republican Party going through the same thing the Democratic Party did with Bernie and Hillary, now with Trump and non-Trump? Or as...
Yeah, it's the old guard Republicans, though. It's the old establishment Republicans that don't like Trump. Is Todd Young ever changed his tune? Because he said he was not going to be endorsing Donald Trump in this election at all. So, I mean, there's institutional people that just realize that what they had as a Republican Party, it doesn't stand for any of the issues that they used to try to stand for at all. The whole free trade and the whole fiscal responsibility. I mean, when it's Trump, all it is just grievance and hate, and it's not even the same party. So
Could when Trump was elected, I kind of thought, okay, we'll get through the next 4 or 8 years. It's not going to be what it ended up being, putting us in a place where we're the most divided we've been in this country since 1859, before the Civil War. I look back and think if Trump just hadn't been so Trump, if he'd have just been a regular president, that we might not be where we're at now. Do you think that was ever a possibility?
Oh, Trump's always been a con man. We elected a con man for president. So but he understands populism. He understands the tricks of politics, and he picked up the things from Bernie that he knew would resonate, that he knew Congress wouldn't let him do. That's what, his supporters are like, well, he didn't have Congress. Well, if he can get all this other stuff done, I said, why couldn't he get done these things? Don't you want healthcare free at the point of service? Wouldn't you like to be able to afford cancer care without mortgaging your house? People understand that we need to be taking care of each other first in America, and we're blowing our money up instead all around the world. And the majority of people that I talk to, and I am in a lot of different places, and Rob, I now am a member of Steelworkers 1999. Chuck Jones is old. I am making furnaces for Carrier now is my full-time job.
Well, that's cool. I love that union local. The first time I went into that union local, they were having a fundraiser for the Democrats. They were having a casino night, and it was a casino night. I mean, there were people gambling all throughout that place. They were playing poker. They were, it was something else. My dad said, "You got to check this out." It took me down there, and I was just kind of a younger kid, and it's like, wow. But that place has always been a hotbed and a great activist local. Oh my God, that's the greatest union local in the state. I think it's not the biggest. That 135 Teamsters is the biggest. But
well, we're coming up here on an hour and a half, and I kind of thought, we might have to have a part 2 of this, a follow-up. Would you all be willing to come back on?
Sure. Yeah. And hopefully we can get some other people. Maybe
I was going to say Susie was supposed to be on here. Kelly Knight. Kelly Knight may come on to a follow-up. And I want to see if I can get a hold of him. Do you know if Misty's still in the Fort Wayne area?
Misty Meehan?
Yeah. Anybody know? Is she still with the party? She was the she was the chair up there. I think district chair at one time.
Yeah. She was the county chair.
County chair. Okay.
Yeah.
I think well, for one, she was the best Dem Enter person that I know, and I think they finally I think they finally burnt her out. I don't know if she's active in the party anymore.
I don't have her contact. So if anybody watching, or if any of you do, reach out to her too. But can you 3 come back on again, please? Sure. At some point here. Awesome. Sure. Awesome.
One thing let's not do is we'll have Susie Talevsky on one time and Misty Meehan on another time, because
that one
they don't mix that well.
Okay.
Water.
Huh?
All right. Okay. I'm glad. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Double thumbs up for that. Anybody else that we should not have on at the same time in case other people want to come on?
No, that's the only one I know of.
Okay.
That's the one.
That's definitely the one. There's no
Okay.
gray area there.
All right,
Um,
Sue and Catherine, who was the one in your room that was the handful?
That's
No?
personal stuff.
Okay,
We're-
all right. Just trying to
no,
get a
no.
little gossip out. I
It was
didn't
me
realize
in my room. It was me.
Yeah, in my room, I was the most offensive
Because I was
person.
the only
just
one
didn't
there.
know. Thank you,
Well,
ladies. Thank you, Rob. Oh,
You're
let's go around the horn. Anything to close out, Sue?
I will give John Zodi a tiny bit of credit because there were people with convention credentials who kept coming down and filling our seats in our section. And that's when the seat assignments happened. So that security knew how to throw people out who were trying to sit in our seats. I think he took it as an opportunity. Oh, I have a reason to pluck these people in this and keep them in this spot. So I don't know that I don't know that I trust that he had to do it exactly that way. But I mean, I was there and there's people sitting in our seats and we didn't have anywhere to sit. And there was a kerfuffle. And it was
I
the
remember
people
that.
who didn't have the delegate seats, which is in the lower bowl, and they had balcony access, and that's where they were supposed to be, but they'd see our seats empty for whatever reason, and
Smoke breaks.
Smoke breaks, a lot of smoke breaks. Yeah.
sanity segments.
And John Zodi
Yeah.
did, whenever there were credentials available, he handed them to me. So I never really sat up top during the whole process. And I do think it was, and I knew some other alternate delegates that did. So I do have to thank him for that. And I do think that had something to do with how many different times my old man had been at the convention. I think the first time he got one, he handed it to me first thing, and I really did get to participate just like I was a regular delegate. So I had credentials almost the whole time, but except for that last night that I didn't go to. I did what you did. I handed away my thing, but it was nice to let some people go see Hillary accept the nomination.
That want to see that.
Yeah.
I handed mine away too.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. I did a couple of shots of Jägermeister, and then I went over to the park where all the Bernie people were and led a march.
Yeah, I probably should have followed you. Why wasn't I following you?
I don't know.
Maybe I was too tired after all that. How did you all drive there? Did you drive with other people?
Yeah.
I flew.
did.
You flew. Oh man.
Yeah, I flew in and flew out and cabbed in and cabbed out.
Huh.
Hey guys.
I'm cheap, man. I don't like
Oh my
it.
gosh. Oh, look at this. Look at this.
Oh wow. How many forests did they cut down to keep handing us those damn things?
Oh my God. The sequoias, man.
Wow.
But because I drove, I got a lot of different physical memorabilia from it that most people don't have.
Wow.
I picked up a whole bunch of flags off the floor and have over the years given, well, really a lot in 2016. A lot of women who were happy about Hillary running. I handed American flags from the convention to give them a part of their Americana that they actually cared about.
Well, I voted for Hillary, so I
didn't.
Yeah.
We're in Indiana, and the duopoly is not working for us. So if the Green Party gets 2% of the vote, if Jill Stein gets 2% of the vote in November, they will have ballot access. And maybe
I'll probably definitely try a third party this time. If it's not close in Indiana, then I'll probably pull that this year, just because.
But is there
won't
any?
matter.
Is there? Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. One way of looking at it is it doesn't matter. The other way of looking at it is the two parties have have ballot access so blocked up that the people that legitimately could do the job can't have access because you have to have basically sold your soul in order to get ballot access.
Yes. So the only and why should I help anyone win the popular vote in the country? It's an electoral college process. If they can't win my state, if they're not going to win my state, I can do what I want with my vote anyway because it's my vote. But it actually would have a purpose to write in Jill Stein in Indiana this year. If we got 2%, then we could start to push actual progressive policies because the Democrats, there'd be an alternative.
So she's going to be a write-in. She's not actually going to be on the ballot. Do we know that all right by now, or?
I haven't heard she's gotten ballot access, but nobody's been. I don't see anybody working on getting her on the ballot.
Yeah.
You know, I maybe the Green Party is working hard, but they're not. I haven't seen it.
You might not be able to sign the actual form yet. I mean, it may be too early.
As far as getting an independent on,
I would know that better than.
The ballot access petitions were last year. They had to be filed by February 5th or something like that.
Yeah, it was like January 20th to February 5th or
Don't
something like that was ballot access. So, all right. Again, let's go around the horn one final time here. Catherine, Robert Kennedy Jr.
What?
What are your thoughts?
I believe in vaccines, so no, I'm not going to vote for Robert Kennedy.
Okay.
But
Rob.
let me just say before we ring
Okay.
off that I'm here
Okay.
to encourage anybody in Indiana from congressional districts 2 through 9 to run to be a part of the Indiana delegation to the Democratic National Convention, which will be in Chicago this year in August. So districts 2 through 9, please run for the delegation. I want to be the only person running in District 1.
Is Susie running? I
Okay.
don't know.
I'm sure she is.
You're sure she is? Okay.
Rob,
But she won a Supreme Court case, so.
we need to talk about that with her.
Yeah. At some
because
point,
it's
that's a
pretty
crazy
significant.
thing to have accomplished. And there's very few people who file a case that goes all the way to the Supreme Court with their name on it and actually win 7-2. It's as bizarre a story as I think that there is.
I'm just so happy they won because that case, if they lost, we were all screwed another way.
Yeah. Well, I had a Democrat grab me and tell me she was going to lose that case. Green, what's her name? Green attorney. She used to be the head of the Trial Lawyers Association in Indiana. Patsy Green. She was drunk. She grabbed me. Oh, she needs to drop that, and went on and on and on. And I was mortified. Somebody that powerful was trying to get me to tell Susie to drop that case. And she was just crocked. She was literally drunk, illegally, could not drive in the state she was in. She was that drunk, and I don't know. That was a weird one.
What are your thoughts on Robert? What are your thoughts on Bobby Kennedy Jr.?
You know what? I don't see him get enough coverage. It sounds like he's a goofball on vaccines. I understand that, and he's coming from, but you know what? I'd sit down and give him a listen. You know, from where we're at now, if he'd take a little different stance than where we're at in supporting this genocide and things, I'd give him a listen. But if he's off his rocker on, you know, I think vaccines work too. I kind of believe in science.
Sue, your thoughts on Robert Kennedy Jr. to close this out?
He's too close to Israel for my tastes at this juncture.
Okay.
There's not enough distance between the the three of them that are polling nationally according to mainstream media, they're all colonizers. So it is the kids' way of saying it now.
Is
they're
this the year where we have the perfect storm and Trump does lose one of these major cases and Biden looks so weak that this is a year a third party person might actually is that a fantasy? I mean, the way this whole thing is lining up,
I think it's
it
a
just
fantasy.
seems like a tsunami. It's not even going to be rational.
I think it's a fantasy simply because of ballot access, or should I say lack thereof. You know, I don't know how many ballots Kennedy's going to have access to, but
they're on the ballot in Arizona and Georgia.
Okay. Now there is a way that you can only win 13 states if you win the right 13 states and win the presidency. Just because of the Electoral College.
He has money behind him.
I know he does. That's why I was asking, because I don't think he's going away.
He's not.
Yeah.
And he's throwing a real wrench in it, and we can't let him be a distraction. There's one candidate who's for peace and the people that has enough national party infrastructure to have a shot. And I'm not a member of the Green Party. I'm a thorough independent at this point who legally votes in the Democratic primary. If they make me want to sign an affidavit that says that I intend on voting for more Democrats in November than Republicans, then that's fine, because nobody gets to see who I vote for in the end anyway. So it's like a piece of paper that I just promise something that they can never verify. But I vote in the Democratic primary because in Indianapolis, it's a Democrat gerrymandered county for the most part. Kennedy is a distraction who gives the media something to talk about that isn't the pain the American people are in.
Okay. The Green Party contacted me a couple of years ago about running for Senate to try to get to that 2%. So the party could get on the ballot and field candidates across the board. But all right, thank you all for being here. And again, we'll do this again here in a month or so. I'll try to set something up, and we'll make sure not have Misty and Susie on at the same time.
Good plan.
Yeah, because we got a lot more we could talk about. So thank you all for being here. We'll see you next time. Catherine, thank you. Rob, thank you. Sue, thank you so very much. And thank you all for watching. Something a little different, and something I think that you're not going to see probably anywhere else. And I hope you'll share what we did here, and hit the subscribe, hit the like. And if you do want to help keep us going, you can do Cash App, $ American Doofus, AMERICAN DUFUS. And if you want to email me, do that through Gmail. Again, all one word, American Doofus, AMERICAN DUFUS @gmail.com. And I will hop over here and say thank you to Peace, Love, and Sunshine. Not going away. There's Echo Romeo, Lori Arnold, and let me see who else was in here tonight. Jamie Lewis, Guy Bassett, and Pink Flamingo. True. Thank you all. Greatly appreciate it. And we will be back. I'll be back on probably sometime tomorrow or Monday, or I'm sorry, tomorrow or Sunday. Definitely we'll be back Monday. Chris is going to be on with us Monday night, and we'll be talking about a lot of the stuff that's happened over the weekend, and I hope you'll join us. It's called Eyes Open. It's on the American Doofus channel. My name's Barry Welsh. Live long and prosper. Thank you all so much for watching. I love you all like chocolate chip cookies. It is a dark world. Try to be a light.